All up. All right. What's up, everybody? This is your girl, Shantanique, better known as Neek Speaks. I'm your personal and professional relationship coach. Welcome to another episode of Candid Conversations. I'm super excited. I'm always excited when we do our conversations, but tonight is, of course, going to be very touchy, but we're going to make it fun. My guest, he's not really a guest, he's family. Andre, Charlie, he's going to share a little bit about himself and what he does. Tonight, we're talking about childhood trauma and give you guys a little sneak peek of what's going to take place during our women's summit tonight. So if you have questions that may trigger you, this is a safe space. Okay, nothing is off limits. We are here to help you because we also have our share of stories and things we've gone through, and we are here to help you understand how you can overcome as well. So without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and let Andre introduce himself.
Hello, welcome. Thank you. I am Andre Charlie, and I have the esteemed pleasure of being here. I am a clinical therapist in the Metro Detroit area. I have a private practice. I have been in private practice for about 20 years, although I have not done full time until the past few years. My background is school social work. I've done higher ed in the juvenile residential facilities as well. And I have been doing community work. So I've done a lot of different areas of social work to bring me a wealth of experience to work with families and individuals right now.
And I truly appreciate you just sharing and wanting to be a part of the conference and all other things that, of course, I have going on. And so for you to be a male and to talk about this openly in your profession, I think is honorable because there's not a lot of men that's talking about their childhood and talking about trauma or even dealing with their mental. And so I know, shameless plug, you have an event coming up. And so do you want to share with the people what you have going on?
Absolutely. Manifest, exploring the identity, the struggle, and the power of men of color is a mental health conference that I'm putting on a symposium. It's a 2 day where I will have the welcome section on Friday night where you can come get soul food dinner. We'll have spoken words, some entertainment, and a words of inspiration by Pastor Cranford and Bryce the third will be my guest artist. And I may do a thing or two as well. So I want to let everyone know to come out. We're going to be talking about everything that is faced the black man or man of color are faced with, from trauma to identity to dealing with their partners, male female interactions, how that looks, how that feels, what we can do. So I have panel discussions, breakout sessions, and just a whole day of events that's going to change, or weekend actually, that will change the trajectory of your life. So come out, Wayne State University. You can find more information on that Manifest Detroit, the eventbrite.com. July 12th and 13th, actually.
Yes, I'm super excited for you, and you know I'm going to be there. So you all need to come on out and support, and also get come here to learn. So y'all know I'm a student first. Like I don't mind taking a back seat and learning. So I'm going to take a back seat and hear what the brothers got to say because I want to be ready for when God sends the right man my way. I know how to navigate. So ladies who are listening, this is a great opportunity for you to come and learn and gleam from some brothers, okay, and find and some women are going to be there too speaking. So it's a great opportunity for you to get an eye, you to explore your aha and finding out, okay, what are some things that I can work on in my mentors that I'm available for the man that God had for me. So this is just a great place for you to learn also about the other side of what men think, how their perspective when it comes to relationships. So without further ado, I want to ask this question. This is the icebreaker. What is one piece of advice that you remembered as a child growing up?
I thought that's pretty cool because I reflect on that. And my dad had different things he would say, nuggets, and he'll
Hmm.
drop different dimes. So it'd be some would just pop up randomly now. But he would say, like, he didn't want us to fight, but you definitely need to not back down from a fight if they
Hmm.
swing is on. So that was a piece of advice that I would use in a different way, though. So it's used to fight myself, or if things come up where I may try to fight against what I'm supposed to be doing. My dad told me don't back down, so let me go ahead and face this. And that's the way that I continue to push through because he was a go getter. My family are go getters. We make it happen. So that's something that I was able to flip in a way to say, you know what, obstacles and barriers may come, but fight through it because you don't back down from a fight. It's swinging on you, so you got to swing back.
That's so good. Oh wow, that's powerful. And I wish I we're gonna go dive right into this. I wish I had something like that from my father. So there's it's crazy because there are two men in my life, and my mom did not know who my dad was, and so um, neither one of them really like were able to pour into me as a child. So, and I'm glad we're talking about childhood trauma because the as far as the male figure in my life, I didn't have that, and so as I got older, that's when I started praying, asking God to send, especially my teenage years. I need a male figure in my life. I'm about to make some decisions that I should not be making, and so I need God to send some people. So at an early age, I started seeking God about certain areas because of all of the childhood trauma that I went through.
Mhm.
Being in the shelters, being in the foster care system, all those things. And so when I share a little bit of that, people are shocked, like, you went through that? You didn't? Like, yeah, you never said nothing, right? And it's like, oh, because I've done some work down through the years, so I don't really talk about it as often. But I think about that. So I'm gonna put a pause because I'm gonna come back to that. Is the reason why I wanted to bring up the whole father part from myself because that was a trauma piece that I am navigating right now. Like it's not, but we'll get to that.
Got
So let's go back to the beginning of childhood trauma because trauma comes in different layers. But
it.
what is the definition of childhood trauma?
So, it's pretty complex in a sense, but it is an event that may be particularly distressing. It could be a danger, it could be violent, it could be an event that poses a threat to a child, whether it happened to them or they witnessed it in their household or caretakers, and it could have threatened their life or their sense of security. So, um, their loved one could be attacked and that would threaten their sense of security. So that is something that impacts them as if it was a traumatic experience, especially if they were not in control. Um, it's I guess it's the in a nutshell is that particularly distressing event that a child can go through and experience, whether it is themselves or they witness it. And there's a list of what those could look like through like the ACEs profile.
Okay, can you explain a little bit of the ACEs profile?
Yes, these are adverse childhood experiences. So it's experiences that we have gone through that experience through our life, childhood, and it may be like something like physical, sexual. Our parent went to jail. We witnessed they were divorced. It may be you saw a parent hit another parent. So it's about 10 questions that just speak to did you experience this in your household and it's yes or no. And it's pretty prevalent that we have most for the most part, I believe 40 about 40% has at least experienced one ACEs event. So it has
Hmm.
definitely impacted us. Now the other part of that is, which we can get into later, is how it impacts us So we know that if it occurred, it probably impacts us, but then we got to deal with how.
Yes, and so that I'm glad you said that because that's what we're going to be talking about during the summit. So the summit is going to be where we dive deeper into the area of trauma and to identify the change that you need to make in order for you to see results in your relationships in your adult life. So you know how we're that new phrase is called adult child because a lot of people are operating as kids. Well, you, of course, you're an adult. You could be someone's child. So that's one way of looking at it. But there are people who are literally kids and they're adults. Like they're very immature. But why are they immature? Where did that stem from? How can we come out of that and become more mature in our adulthood? Because a lot of things are linked. Not everything, but some things are linked from our childhood and cause us to be immature in certain areas where we need to mature, like with our finances, how we eat, how we communicate with each other as adults. You know, a lot of the problem right now in the dating scene, and no offense because you're a guy, but guys don't know how to communicate. But also women don't know how to communicate either. So it's like, okay, how do we navigate this, right? How should a man pursue a woman? So I know we're going to be talking about that with Louis and Vanessa. They have their own breakout session that's going to help the men and the women understand how to communicate. And we're going to do some role playing, some scenarios going to be taking place. We're going to do some. It's going to be really good. Some interaction. I think it's important for us to model. Now, like you know, I'm a teacher by day, so I'm always modeling with my students. But also, I feel like we need to do that with us, so that we can become more confident and how we present ourselves to one another. And when you talk about the how, when it comes to childhood trauma and how to navigate, we got to do some root work. So we're doing root work during the men's and women's summit. So if you're listening and if you find anything that you are connected to and you want more information about the summit, the pre-sale is not open yet. But you can go to my website at www.neekspeaks.com and join the email list if you're not already on there now. And you'll get more details and, of course, an exclusive discount just because you are part of the email family. So, again, this conference is going to be on Saturday, October 5th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. and it's going to be virtual. So you don't have to go nowhere, fly out nowhere. You can be right in your home or at a hotel like myself and just be by yourself and focus in to get this work. Okay. So let's go back into our session. So I want you to, if you don't mind, because I know you shared before. If you don't mind, can you share with us one experience? Because I know you've had several, and you already know I'll be on you. Like you need to share your whole story, but I ain't gonna get on you. I ain't about to, I ain't about to clown you tonight. You busy guy now, so I can't mess you right now. But do you mind sharing one story, um, or one experience from your childhood that was a challenge, or if it's something that you are still coping with today?
Mm, yes. So the fact that, or as a result of my parents passing at an early age for me, it was my mom when I was 6 years old and my dad when I was 15. I found that it had impacted me in certain ways that I didn't realize until I got into this and started doing the work and understanding what that looks, feels like, displayed like, and internally and externally. So it's fighting against abandonment. There may be attachment issues there. Even though my mom was there, she was loving and kind and everything you can ever imagine. But from like three and a half, 4 years old to 6, I watched her totally deteriorate. So, that took an effect on me. And my father was there and definitely was involved in a way, but he was also one that was a man's man. So he was in the street doing his thing. He had a lot of women, and one thing that I remember in particular, like I never received a hug from my father or him telling me that he loved me. And I didn't know how that impacted me. When he passed, I dreamed for several days about him until the one night it was a dream where it was very vivid. And he said, I love you, son. He gave me a hug. And it was years before I dreamed about him again. But
Mm.
I was probably longing for that, and I never got it. And my body didn't know what to do with that. So I was able to release that when I had that dream. But also because of those areas of deficit without your parents and without your mom being able to nurture you the way that you should be nurtured as a young kid, then I know that abandonment rises up. I can also get lost in feeling if I am being misused or if someone genuinely loves me or supports me and may have had boundary concerns or issues because just feeling like creating family or loved ones can be also a situation when you have not had what you need in those formative years. And it was really important that I took time to understand and do the work so I don't get caught in that cycle or that circle and continue to go on feeling misused and abused. However, I need to also know that sometimes it's me and I have to make sure that I don't overextend myself. And you have to make sure that it's an emotional roller coaster that can be stressful. But that's an area in which that can continue to fight because I'm still me and I still have those things, and they can't be resolved by my parents because they're gone. So I have to make sure that I do the spiritual work, the natural work, and also guard myself. But I can't just be secluded and standoffish. I have to also be vulnerable and available and continue to work through the process.
Ooh, that is so good. I hope y'all are taking down some nuggets he just dropped because you gotta be willing to do the work. And something that Bishop Jake said Sunday, he said that as long as you don't talk, you can't heal.
Yeah.
And that is so true. Like the biggest thing that the enemy uses the most is muting your mouth. He will mute you. If you don't believe or know that you have power in your mouth and speak up, he will continue to like hold mute your mouth because there's power in your voice. Speaking over your life, speaking over your household, those things are important. Speaking over your situation, whatever you're going through. And
The-
one thing I've always said to people, the biggest person, the most important relationship that you will always evolve is the one with yourself. Is
Yeah.
not with other people. Having relationships with other people is a bonus.
Hmm.
No one has to do life with none of us. And I keep telling folks that, and this is a hard, it could be a touchy topic, but we are breaking the barrier and we are here to help you understand how to navigate. And so you got to be willing to do the work, y'all. Healing
Okay.
is not there's no shortcut to healing. It is a process, it's a lifelong process. Andre just explained
Absolutely.
to us, what he had to go through, and I actually had to go through the same thing, like with going into the system. We had to go to therapy as young as 8, 9 years old, just to make sure we're okay in the process while my mother was getting better.
Hmm.
And that's another thing too. People don't like process, but I'm going to tell you, it's a blessing in process. There's a blessing in healing. It's a blessing in understanding the pain, y'all. Because when you understand the pain, you become more mature in how you manage your day to day, like how you deal with problems. And you mentioned boundaries, how to set up healthy boundaries, and making sure that you're not making decisions based off your emotions. And that's
Hmm.
something I've learned. And when you use discernment, because that's one other thing we need to be doing, and
Right.
intuition,
Right.
you won't have to be you don't have to lean on your emotion when you start making decisions from a discerning place.
Right.
So I don't want to go too deep and give y'all the
Right.
conference.
But
Okay,
I do.
but
I want to go back to a place
sure, go ahead.
where you said, we pretty much are, the enemy uses us to shut us down so that we don't speak. And speaking those words verbally are powerful. Speaking healing, speaking what it is we need, speaking love, speaking all of the deficits and turn it into a positive affirmation verbally is important because we need to combat the voices, the tones, and the images that we hear in our head
Yes.
because they're there and they're playing and they're replaying. And those messages, those unhealthy thinking patterns, all of the events that occur in our mind, we will continue to have until we combat them with something else. If you leave them there, they'll stay there. If you don't speak, it'll remain. So you have to make sure that you're speaking, like speak life over yourself, healing over yourself. th- That will stick a pin there and just yes.
That is so good. Yes, you have to. What I was thinking about when you said that is, when was the last time you spoke life over yourself? When was the last time you spoke life over whatever it is you've gone through? What is that thing? I want you to think about that. Let me see. What was the other thing I wanted to ask you? So, why is it important? Why is it important to understand your childhood trauma? At our big age, because the math not math and how people are acting, and we need to know why is it important that we do this work.
It's imperative that we do the work because what we don't realize is it's showing up. So we have to know how our ways, our actions, our behaviors impact not only us, but those around us. We can be doing damage internally because our system is holding so much stress and pressure that it's not healing and repairing the way it should be, which happens in REM sleep, which we do when we actually are at peace and we can get some rest so our body can heal and repair, but we're under distress. So now we don't really get the sleep we need. We always stay up late. We add substances on top of that, and we don't understand why we're always on edge or why we can't have a successful relationship and why is it everyone else that's always going off on me and you think that you aren't the problem but it really is you, but you have not found a big enough mirror to look in so that you can see because you're avoidant and you have that avoidant personality feeling and traits, I shouldn't say personality because that's a whole nother discussion if you get into disorders. But we have to understand how our body responds to stressors, how it responds to when we are feeling in danger, and are we stuck in a stress response because we were never able to get back to a safe place. And if you are stuck in a stress response, everything will be an attack or everything will be aggressive or everything will be something that is not healthy because we have not moved from. So like if we're in a fight and flight situation, there's a lot of people are familiar with that. Well, our stress responses, our central nervous system puts us in a place to be able for survival. Once the threat is gone, if we thought we may have to fight and the threat is gone, our body returns back to a calm state. However, for some who have experienced lifelong stresses from childhood on, we may not actually go back to that calm state. We may always be at, say, we do 1 to 5, and 3 is where that stress response is. We may always have that baseline of a 3 because we could have trauma on top of trauma and it's moved from a traumatic experience or episode to complex trauma or post traumatic stress syndrome, even. So, after a multitude of stressors, through our childhood and life, we may not be able to get back to that other place. And we've learned how to navigate on that level 3, but it's always on in attack. So we're not in rest mode. So we're doing damage to our body. And we need to make sure that we resolve that because it's impacting not only us, but we're impacting relationships, potential partnerships, businesses, jobs, colleagues, employees, our moms, dads, cousins, uncles, and we a lot of times just feel like, well, people should just leave me alone, or they said this and I just reacted to them. If they had not have said that, then I wouldn't have did B. But why did you? Why is that response appropriate, and why is it okay, and why are you justifying it? Because you have gone through so much that you don't know what healthy looks like. So that's why it's important to do the work now at our big age.
Oh my gosh. Y'all, I hope y'all hearing this. I hope y'all come. And listen, Andre don't hold back. He come with all the smoke. Okay. So I be cringing sometime, which is a good thing because if you don't have someone in your life who challenges you and to cause you to think outside of you of the box, your box, then how can you grow? And so I'm so glad that I have a great set of people around me who are forward thinkers, and that's where God wants us. He doesn't want us in a comfortable spot. None of us.
No.
You got to be willing to come out of your shell, come out of hiding when it comes to your feelings, because your feelings matter. You matter. You're tired. You're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and so we're here tonight to pour into you. And so I want to just mention this because you mentioned peace earlier. Because I have an acquaintance who's looking for peace,
Huh?
looking for it, and I'm gonna tell you right now, men of God, women of God, who do not have peace in your life, stop looking for it in other people. You have to find that peace within you. You have to find that peace within you and find peace within God where you are and be centered. Now, through my lifespan, I've come through many storms, just like all of you all. And one thing I can say about our household, wherever we laid at, in the shelter or in foster care, I had peace. Now I'm gonna share this part of this story. I never shared this. This is my first time sharing this part. The only person that knows this is my mentor, and she told me I should share this. So when I was 5 years old, you mentioned a dream. I had a dream that I was in a house, and there was a grand piano, and there was like a staircase, and it was like a shine light like in the living room, and it had like pictures and like a couch. And I told my mom, I said, Mom, I had a dream about this house, and I was just telling her this, and she was like, What? That's crazy. At 5, I did not know that house was my foster mother's house. When I turned 9, and we were going to the system. And I remember that night we came there, and she turned on the light, and I remember like I was frozen because I was looking around like I've been here before, and the lady was looking at me like, "What?" So the reason why I'm sharing that is that sometimes God, He prepares you,
Yeah.
and at 5 years old, He prepared me. I did not know that until I got until 20 some years later. I'm like, Holy Spirit, you've been with me the whole time for real. Like you were setting me up and I didn't even know it. So don't count it strange that God has, put you in a position or a place of pain for you to grow and learn from that. So that's just a little bit I just want to give y'all. Y'all gotta come to the summit, okay? Come to the summit because it's layers to this thing. But
Yes.
when it comes to peace, the peace of God, you have to spend time with Him in order to get that and understand that God is with you even through the storm, through the trauma. He's there to guide you through the trauma. He's there to guide you through whoever He's sending. He might be sending Andre your way to connect with him, to be his client. You just never know. So I have, and I don't like touching on this, but I have to. You cannot Holy Ghost everything.
Yeah.
I
Can
promise y'all.
cannot.
About 2 weeks ago, the Holy Spirit said, "No, tell the people to go to therapy. Some things you gotta do in the natural."
Yeah.
That's what He told me. Some things you gotta deal with naturally.
Yeah.
You went through it naturally. Why you can't deal with it naturally?
Yeah.
Why can't you process it? Now I'm calm down.
And then it
But
connects. Like it's going to if you're with the right therapist, it's going to support what you know spiritually. It's going
absolutely,
to align. It's going to support when they're not mutually exclusive. One can exist with the other. It should be supporting one another so you can be more open in your therapy sessions because you're more open spiritually, and when you're more open that way in your therapy, you'll be more open spiritually because you are now dealing with effectively dealing with, just like when Nick talked about communicating earlier. We communicate language. Our nonverbals is a language, our behavior is language, but we want effective communication. So we'll talk
yes,
about what that looks like in the summit because that's important. So that's why therapy is important. It supports. You have human behavior, biological, physiological, psychological, all of these things going on that you need to understand within your body that actually responds, and why are you feeling the way you feel. You don't have to be locked into those childhood traumas that show up like eating disorders or body distortions because messages are going on in your mind, or even having obsessive compulsive disorders because you can't get hold of things. You got to be in control of things. You have racing thoughts, and you have so many things you're trying to regulate, but you can't. And so you're on edge. There's a plethora of reasons why therapy will be supportive in this, not just for when things are wrong, things that may be going all right. It's for healthy living to support and keep and reinforce. So there's areas that we have never touched that we didn't even know was an issue, but it is. We don't know how the fact that we're holding on to a childhood trauma that we aren't releasing, so it's manifesting as high blood pressure or stress induced panic attacks or sleeping disorders or having, hey, even as our health, asthma, chronic pain. It's so many areas that it can be impacting that we think we're fine, and we will put medication on it, but we won't do therapy. Sometimes we won't do medication, but we will drink some wine. But sometimes we won't drink wine. We'll smoke a blunt. Sometimes we won't smoke a blunt, but we'll take a drink. So let's deal with it in a more healthy way, something that will get us the results that we really want, long lasting.
yes, so so good. We cannot give them the confidence, Andre.
My bad.
And scene. Listen, y'all. I hope you guys are learning something. If you have questions, feel free to ask. Before we wrap this up, there are a few things I want to address. I want to go back really quick to what we just talked about the piece. You are earthly good. Everyone that's listening to this broadcast, this replay, you are earthly good. Therefore, invest in your sanity and get the help that you need. If you would like an extension of that support, definitely tap in with us during the summit in October because there's you're gonna have we're gonna have breakouts. The men are gonna have their session, their moments. When the women are gonna have their sessions and their moments. We have the privilege, ladies. Andre gonna be working with us. Okay, so he gonna bring it. Okay, he gonna bring the whip. I've experienced him in person. Okay, he is going to bring the heat. So I'm excited. Once again, I want you to know that you matter. You are earthly good. Therefore, do the work naturally. You're gonna be like, why didn't I do this sooner? Trust me. Okay, your girl is. I'm on a healing journey myself. I'll do my reset tomorrow. Okay, so in the next 2 weeks, we'll have David McKellar. He is the owner of Inception Mental Fitness Gym right here in Michigan, and so he's going to be talking about healing from the inside out. And some of the things that Andre just talked about, he's going to be addressing when it comes to our mental and when it comes to our bodies, like how our body responds naturally to holistic approaches to having a better relationship with ourselves and making sure that we are whole, we are healing properly, and we don't have to always go to the doctor. He is I want to say Dr. Isn't it Dr. Sibi? Say, how you pronounce his name?
Sadie.
Sabi.
Hmm.
Yes, he is. He's like him. Like he's the bomb. So I'm grateful to know David and be a part of the process of my healing and a part of his program. So it is really good. It's blessed my soul for the past year, almost 2 years now. And I want to say again, healing doesn't happen overnight. You have to be willing to do the work to see the results, and you're gonna make some people, uncomfortable, but the good because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be growing and glowing and all other things. Um, and I want to share this last part. Don't allow a person into your space, okay, who doesn't want your wants,
Hmm.
whose wants don't want your wants, okay, ladies, because I didn't have a father in my life, and I was so used to that neglect, right, Andre?
Yeah, but I thought
So
you
I
didn't want to
always
tell the
just
conference.
I know I was so used to that. I know I was so used to that, but I wanted to tell people like a little bit about this because I want them to understand that when you allow people in your space who don't want your wants and they just there to get from you, you're not gaining anything. They're
Man,
just taking from you. You allow them to take because you're a giver. I'm a giver. I'm a huge giver. But I've learned to set up boundaries because people will take that as a weakness. And it's not, y'all. Like, don't stop giving because people are just trying to take advantage. Leave them alone. Wait, hold on, we got somebody. Oh, you are speaking the truth. Mess with the way you see yourself. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Perfect.
Yeah.
Distortions, you can see yourself in a way that's not true because you've allowed other people's messages to infiltrate, in the best way to put it, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Um, but this goes for going back to what I was saying about allowing people in your space who doesn't want your wants. This can go both ways, romantic and platonic.
Yeah.
And that goes back to what you talked about earlier with communication and all. I don't want to go back to that, but I just want to drop that on y'all. Y'all come to the summit
Yep.
in October. Why should people attend and share your experience to the summit? The summit, how did you know?
Man, the biggest thing is, I knew a lot of the areas, and I was vibing with everything. The financial piece, I was vibing with the relationship and everything. But I learned a couple more things about the narcissistic personality disorder that I kind of said, "Oh, okay, now that makes a little more sense," because I'm in the process of learning more about the personality disorders because they become so prevalent in the past few years, but it was something that I had started in another area with borderline, and so trying to get understanding that, but then looking at NPD, it was like wow. So right from Leon's mouth, it's like okay, that was interesting. So he's a grandiose, overt narcissist that talked about how he hated his mother because his mother was the one that was he didn't talk about his mother because the mother was the one that did certain things to him and she looked like appeared to be the enemy, but nobody knew that. He knew that. So then he did all of these womanizing things and he had this sexual behavior and he had a lot of self-protective behaviors. And then he actually was in therapy and realized, yo, so there was a couple of good things that my mom did do, and I learned to actually identify some of those things as well because I can only think about the bad things because that's what we want to magnify. So that was so interesting. So I was working with that for a minute, but they should attend the conference because it's a way of learning and strengthening ourselves. The dynamics that you're going to experience at this conference is like none other. So you need to be a part of this. It's going to be a way of awakening, insight. You're going to have absolutely walk away with a better understanding of yourself. So come on out.
Yes, and I've been doing this since 2018. We were in person until things changed in 2020, but I have evolved since that point. Like, man, oh yeah, my whole mindset has changed about relationships and also how I approach delivering my services to you all. So, doing the work now, in the past 2 years, I'm like, man, I should have been doing this work before 2018. But I'm so glad that you all can still rock with me. Y'all seen me grow from that point to now, and nothing is fake. All this is real. Okay. And I'm just grateful to that God is using us at such a time as this to still continue to be a blessing to you all. But make sure you guys are following Andre on Instagram. Is it affecting change?
The fact that you
All
Charlie,
okay. Yep,
it
it's
would
that
it.
second
Yeah,
dot. There you go. Thank you.
yeah.
Go
If you put
ahead.
the if you just put the fact that change Charlie in without the dots, it's gonna come up, so it's cool.
Oh, well, there it is. Boom. Well, affect and change Charlie on all social media platforms, and of course, make sure you're following me, Neek Speaks, on all social media platforms. Don't forget to sign up. Tell the people again where to sign up for your his in person event, the 2 day
in
event in
person.
July. Okay.
In-person event, July 12th to 13th. You will want to be in the place. I'm telling you, this is like no other. It has been specifically laid out by God. Come and be a part. I've prayed and gotten step by step of what to do. So I want you to be a part to experience this. ManifestDetroit.eventbrite.com. Get your tickets, come out, and let's celebrate together. We're going to learn a lot. We're going to be doing some things. It's going to be a life experience for you.
All right, well, there y'all have it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And we'll be back in 2 weeks. I'll have on July 5th, I will have David McKellar talking about healing from the inside out. So make sure you guys tap in with us then. Until next time, you guys have an amazing weekend, and I will talk to you soon.
Talk soon.